You are listening to the Dental C-Suite, the strategic alliance for independent dentists, covering the 3 pillars of practice success, people, profit, and patience from the Dental C-Suite. Here are your hosts.
Okay, welcome back to the Dental C-Suite. Today, we're joined by someone who lives and breathes orthodontics, digital workflows, modern treatment planning, and what she calls beautifully aligned ovoid arches. She's an orthodontic educator, RDH, and digital workflow specialist with over 25 years in dentistry. She's worked everywhere from leading top-tier ortho practices to training dentists across North America in advanced aligner systems and biomechanics. She's the master digital technician and education executive for Clearly Aligned, one of the fastest growing orthodontic education networks, where she helps clinicians simplify complex digital workflows and actually enjoy the process along the way. She's the founder of OrthoFans, a consulting growth firm for orthodontists focused on delegation of digital services and best practices. And might I say, either in her direct network or her secondary network, is probably connected to 95% of the dental industry. Kelley, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks so much, Charlie, for having me.
No worries. Kelley, you're obviously very well known in the dental industry. But for listeners who might not know you, can you walk us through your journey in the dental industry and how you got into orthodontics and digital education?
Yeah, so a snapshot. I started like most hygienists, popped into the closest dental office I could get, the first job I could get. And I will say I have been blessed with my choices. The first office that I started off, all the practices I've been in have been huge multi-specialty practices. So I have been exposed to ortho early on, periodontists, oral surgeons. They all came to us. So my first practice is actually currently the largest dental practice in North America. It just keeps growing and growing. And I would I would say he was one of the most influential people in my life. His name is Dr. Terry Papnasia. He owns Access Dental, which is in Brampton, Ontario. And the reason I found myself in Brampton was because I was on jury duty for 5 weeks. And it was blowing my mind that I wasn't, as like a type A, golden scaler hygienist, able to land a job the first week out of school. And so on my lunch breaks from jury duty, Terry's office was right across from the courthouse. And that's where I worked for my first 5 years because I got that job. And so he was ahead of his time. Our focus there really was on patient education to a very, very high level and the wow patient experience. And from there, that's where the office grew. It wasn't really about business. I didn't know how much the office was making. All of that was kind of hidden from us. Our job was just to provide excellence. And really education. And what I will say was very different from an office like his, which probably now has about 100 team members. To put it in perspective, the scale of this office, was our lunch hours were spent co-teaching each other chapters of books that were completely undental related. So it was like the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People when it first came out, because I am like 80 years old. So, which it seemed kind of like, what are we doing here? But as a young, like 23-year-old, to go through chapter by chapter, and that really became the foundation for my life. I mean, my children all know the 7 habits because that leads into 7 habits of highly effective families and 7 habits of highly effective teenagers. And, begin with the end in mind and put first things first, and systems, synergistic systems, things like that. So I have to give him credit for really instilling that in us. And the reason he did that was because he thought that if all of his team members were very in tune with what he was thinking and feeling and practicing and had good home and family lives, they would bring that to the practice and be fulfilled and be really good at their job. And obviously he was right.
It worked.
Because,
He was on something.
Yeah. And they're like the most beautiful people. He has collected an amazing group of beautiful people. And so I was there for about 5 years. So very instrumental in building the patient experience and education based. And then the idiot move on my behalf, a rookie move, was I thought, why am I traveling 2 cities away to go to work? And I worked long days. He would let me work as much as I wanted. So I would work sometimes 12 or 13 hours a day. He'd be happy to pay me overtime because he was like, you know what? She's going to burn herself out. Like she's going to want to have short hours and no weekends pretty soon. So he just let us work endlessly to save up for our homes or where we were young, newlyweds and whatnot. And so basically from there, I decided to move closer to home to Oakville, Burlington area. And that's when I fell into Dr. Hill, Appleby Dental. They were like a flagship office, the first digital office in Ontario or maybe even Canada. Siemens had outfitted them. Stunning. I don't know how massive this place is. It's still down the street from me, but it was the first office where it was full digital x-rays, digital pans. We had a 15-foot waterfall. The patient experience was massive. The 11 operatories, but the other half of the clinic that was just for the patients. It was like a living room. It was just as big as the operatories, which you would never do right now because that's a waste of square footage. I was like, great.
Yeah, but no designer's going to tell you to do that.
Exactly. It was stunning, and it worked because we had over 200 new patients a month come into practice. And what I will say there, I had this a really amazing experience of staff experience, patient experience, education for my first 5 years. And then my next 8 years, as much as we still were doing excellent, high quality treatment, I was a little scared, to be honest. We were like really, they were really on us about very detail oriented, but with a good outcome. But they did expose us to the business side, which the first I ever heard about the cents and dollars of it, and that it was a business, and that I had a responsibility as a full-time hygienist for the number of hours I was working to produce $36,480 a month. I know, because I was scared shitless. Not what it. Yeah. Because I'm like an overachiever. And if I don't hit 100%, like I feel like a failure. And so I will say with that, I was always in a little bit of a struggle. We know that benchmark, that number that I just said, that was based on, being very, very accountable to every single hour of my day. And I couldn't achieve that because there's a balance. Not all patients needed every single cherry on top of their sundae. And so I didn't achieve that number. I knew I was always short about 1,000, 1,200, 1,500. It varied, of course. And I was aware that I wasn't meeting it, but I was comfortable with my decisions. And no one ever gave me any gears about it. I was still doing the best. I mean, I was still high up there. But it was important for me to know that information. And I never thought, of course, I can do some basic math. I'm not as good as you, Charlie, but when I think of the 12 hygienists we have and the associates, I can see all the numbers that we're producing and realize that, hey, we're a multi-million-dollar practice. We're making some solid money here. Did that make me think I should be making $80 an hour as a hygienist? No, it didn't. We all know our place and how much money we're worth at that period of time, and also how to leverage that. And so I think a lot of doctors and orthodontists are afraid to let the team in on how much they're making or incentives. They're afraid to show them the books. And I would say I had the opposite experience. I was happy to know that, hey, this is a business. I need to pull my weight if I want the practice to grow and hope that my income grows with it and that we are sustainable, that I have a role in that. And that, even the products that we're ordering are very expensive. How would I know that? I'm a hygienist. I just came out of school 5 years ago and I don't see those types of numbers. So I would say the combination of those two early practices in my first 12 years of life were instrumental going forward. And then how I fell into ortho was right next to that flagship office, which was stunning, was an orthodontic office. Also stunning. It was a father and son team. And I brought my children in the door, and I'm Kelley. I'm chatty, obviously. And so the hygienists and assistants got to know me, and they stole me away from the GP practice. I was on maternity leave at the time. And so then they created a monster, basically. So I knew a little bit of ortho, as we all do. Again, I've been working in these two big offices who had orthodontists, either traveling orthodontists who came in, or we did ortho within our GP practice as best we could, functional and fixed mostly. And then when I was with Dr. Bozak, obviously I got a deeper dive into it. And I thought, wow, how have I been a hygienist for 15 years and I did not know this? Like, of course, I know class one, I know basics, but I really was missing the mark. I was not assessing properly. I was ticking all the boxes, probably new patient exam, filling out all the squares. But what was I doing about it? Nothing. Guilty as charged. Because now I tell hygienists all the time. Exactly. Look for opportunities. And I totally missed it myself for the first, handful of years. So credit to him and his dad for training me up in the team who, took me under the wing and answered way too many questions in that first year. And then Dr. Bozak gave me the kind of practice within a practice, if you will, of Invisalign. And those were mostly our pain in the ass patients, our child stars, our mom in yoga pants, our neighbors, that type of thing. And my job was really just he said, Kelley, can you take this little group of people and keep them happy? Because I'm very accommodating. So I would work through my lunch or stay a little extra because they were extra themselves. And I was like, oh yeah, great. I am fully aware that part of the role was because it was in a different wing of the office. They probably wanted to get away from this 40 hours a week. And so it was quieter in the main clinic for sure. And so I did it. And like most things, I take myself a little too seriously and my job a little too seriously. And so when he gave me that practice, that role, I felt like, oh my, like now it has to build, it has to grow. I need to be like the best at it. And it was the first time I was given access to the software part of Invisalign. I'd done it clinically, not very well. I needed guidance. I had our lab tech telling me what to do. So I wasn't really good at it. But now I had access to the back end of it. So the Invisalign doctor site education tab became my Netflix. And then I just became hyper fixated on Invisalign. Anything I learned, I would apply. All of the famous orthodontists, Dr. Boschkin, Regina Blevins, Masma Shiri, Jonathan Nikazisas, these became like my Disney characters, like my my stars, like the Academy Awards people who I would want autographs from. I just watched them nonstop every single night, and I tried to apply everything that they did into practice. And then, yeah, basically it created a monster. I realized that there was a tiered system. I'd never heard about that. I told Dr. Bozak, like, hey, did you know I could save you 36% of your lab bill and we could grow and there's awards for it? And he was like, Kelley, I don't want that. Just keep these pain in the, he didn't say pain in the butt. That's my own personal term. Pain in the ass patients happy. But in my head, I thought, no, I'm going to do it. I'm going to try to be a diamond. I want the award. I want to be like team member of the year. There's no prize for that. And so within a year, I had one chair. So I had the scanner. It was that old version scanner because I'm old. So by the time I scanned someone, I was able to get enough words out and get them excited about Invisalign that that's what they wanted instead of braces. And so within a year, we grew to Diamond Plus, and I delivered every single case in my chair from scan to debond. I wasn't the TC, I was just the scanner, so I didn't sell it, but I delivered it and debonded it. And he and our territory manager were surprised, to say the least. I didn't say out loud I could do it. I just in my head thought I'm doing it anyways, even though you don't want it. And so that was my deep dive into it, and where systems had to be put in place because otherwise I wouldn't have been able to do it in one chair and do it to a level of expertise that everyone felt taken care of. And then from there, I left him soon after because again, there is no prize for there is no prize for the top team member, and I don't ask for raises, which is my mistake as well. Another rookie move. So then I moved to his golf partner with his permission, and I repeated the exact same thing for him, but with his help, with the full team. I had learned that doing it alone is not fun. And that was a fantastic team, really nice team environment. It was fun to do it all together. And once I hit diamond with that practice, within about 15 months, because it was a brand new practice with no patients of record, that's when Align noticed, like, who is this girl who's turning these practices around? Let's get her as a speaker. And that was just my secret way of getting close to like my Disney characters of Align. I had never spoken public before, apart from maybe like, grade 9 speech contest, which I dreaded. But I thought I'm going to do it anyways until they realize this is not for me. I'm a nervous wreck. And then I have to give credit to all of the Align speakers, the orthodontists. Obviously, I'm on the ortho track. They just really brought me into their fold. They gave me free education, let me in as an orthodontist. Way before I started setting up cases, they let me in. And I have been hyperfixated on this probably now for, 18 years. And created myself into like a fake odontist, with all due respect to their education that I don't have. I totally know my lane. I do know a lot. I have trained orthodontists and now dentists, general dentists who want to learn a little bit more ortho. And so I do know my stuff, but I also know what I don't know. And all due respect to the experts in their designated spaces. So it's been quite a ride.
Sounds like it.
It's funny. I've known Kelley for a long time, actually. I met her during my office manager days. And I don't know if I've ever actually met somebody who, whatever task she's given, sprints off the line to do it. Like anything is just full steam ahead. It's going to happen. And I'll drag anybody along with me that it's coming. And it's always been very awesome to see, and especially just your passion about all of this stuff. It exudes out of you. But yeah, so one of the questions I wanted to kind of go into here, because obviously you learn this from the inside out, which I think is such a big thing in this industry, is when you can learn things and do things themselves, not just in theory, but actually work through it. You have a different understanding of the mechanics of these things. So you've worked across, clinical education, all these digital systems, built them yourself. What point did you start noticing maybe some inefficiencies, or how money can be lost in these systems, where you said this can actually be a business to educate people and help people develop this within their own clinics and stuff like that?
Mm-hmm. I would say in the first ortho office, when I was in charge of this practice and it was growing, again, I wasn't the digital, right now I would identify as like a master digital technician. That's the unique skill set that I have. That's my best skill set. But I wasn't doing that for Dr. Bozak. He did all of his own homework. And so he was, again, one of the reasons he probably wasn't thrilled with the rise of Invisalign was because his after hours work was heavy. He was used to golfing and skiing and doing all the things that he wanted to do as an orthodontist. And I was disrupting that by overloading him with homework. And so we had an arrangement. Again, we're both like 50-year-old people. And so we had a sticky note system. Woo, high tech. And it was like, he committed to me that every morning, while he was working a busy clinic with a gazillion chairs, he would do 2 print checks in the morning and 2 in the afternoon. And my job was to tell him which 2 were priority. So it was a sticky note system, 2, 2, but you can't grow with just 2. So basically I would give him the 2, but then in his ear, I'd be like, oh my gosh, like she has a wedding. There was always a reason. I was pushing him. So we would add. So all of a sudden it became 3 or 4 or whatnot. Where it was starting to unravel was we would put all these new patients in, because again, we were killing it. It's a very productive office. We're starting all these new patients, and I would see on our home screen, our digital roster, and know that, okay, he's going to do these top, maybe 6 if I'm lucky each day, right? The top 6. But there's at least 20, 30, 40 below it that he's not going to get to. And they're going to sit there. I could do the calculation till next week. And that's inefficient, right? I need to get them going. I need to get them delivered. And so because I was on the Invisalign doctor site, I was learning from like Regina and Maz and Jonathan how to fill out the prescription and whatever. And so I started just taking baby steps into the waiting pool of thinking, well, I'm not doing any harm. I mean, everything's reversible. So let me just fill out the prescription. I'll send it in. By the time it gets back, then he'll be ready to do it. And then it turned out, well, no, actually, I still have 5 days to wait for him. Why don't I just take a first crack at the first thing? Like, I know what attachments he likes. I know basically what our goals are. I'll just type those to the text. So we started to do these baby steps, and so that was one inefficiency. I was thinking, no, this isn't really efficient. I'm relying upon a very busy man with a very busy day. He's still trying to keep all of his fixed mechanics in the air. He teaches university, all the things that we all have on our plates. So I was
Yep.
thinking, this isn't a really great system, but I don't know what the solution is yet, because I'm not even trained up that much yet. And then also, because I was in his ear, always nipping at him, like, not only the starts, but the refinements. This is where I noticed that we have problems here. We know that planned refinements, there's going to be refinements. We are doing hard cases. So definitely the first case gets through. I've harassed him for that. Fantastic. But now we definitely have one substantial refinement, continuing to work on hard things, and maybe a tidy up little short set. Where we were losing is he needed to approve these cases so that we didn't have to cancel patients, because then we look horrible. No one ever wants to cancel a patient. That would be like a failure in my eyes. If we ever had to reschedule someone or bring them back in for a scan, hells no. Like, I can't, my ego can't take it. So I was like, we have to avoid that at all costs. And so basically what I'm forcing this poor orthodontist to do is to approve cases that he's really just whisking through. Just like, does it look good? Does it feel good? Boom. And again, we were missing this system of what are the patient's goals? What are my goals, like chairside notes? And we would miss little things like closing those last few gaps, or the patient said they didn't like this feeling of this mesial out on a lateral. Oh, shoot, it's not in this set. I'm physically delivering it. And the patient's like, oh, I don't see that lateral moving, the one that they're worried about. And so it was those types of things where you've now delivered a whole refinement chairside. You know that it's not doing what it should, but you've told the patient it is. I just bought myself a whole extra refinement. And so that's chair time. Chair time is like gold to me. You do
Mhm.
not get chair. You do not get chair from Kelley unless you really, really need it. And so we had to develop systems of trying to be as efficient as possible, still excellence and efficiency. Those are the main two goals, but how not to miss those little things. And so again, systems, checklists and systems, and also starting to put someone else in charge of those pre-checklists, making sure notes are done properly so that by the time the orthodontist or the dentist these days, who are doing some fantastic work out there, are looking at those cases, they can just run through it and not miss any steps. And so again, what happens very, very quickly, the train goes off the track where you have 4 refinements, 5 refinements, and your estimated completion date, which you estimated at maybe 18 to 24 months, now is at 32, 36, 40. And if you have all these new patients coming into practice needing your chairs, but no one's leaving, it's a clogged system and you are losing your profit. You're basically, it's fake money. You're making money, but your chair time with team and resources and doctor time, which is very, very expensive, poor doctors are replanning cases that they should never have had to touch another time. So there's so many inefficiencies in digital systems. One, if you don't know what you're doing, for sure, then you're just making posterior open bites over and over and over again and doing unnecessary IPR, which is a lot of work. I see a lot of that every day. Um,
Yep.
and we have a fake sense of how busy our practices are, because our hygienists, our assistants are overloaded, our chairs are full, but we're doing the same work over and over again. So there's a high need for, um, first of all, knowing where the leaks are, and then to the systems to fix those.
I want to touch on a point here because obviously I have worked in an ortho office, so I know a lot of the kind of detail that you're talking about.
Mhm.
And one thing that I've always found with Invisalign to be very important is that if you do it right, it can be more profitable and more productive than braces.
Yes.
But when you do it wrong, it's a much bigger problem than a problem with braces.
Exactly.
And so it is one of those things that I've found in many offices that they don't believe in Invisalign. Like, it's not more profitable.
Yeah.
It's like, well, it's a system thing. I can almost guarantee you that, because yes, like you said, you're doing more refinements. You're missing delivery dates. You're not actually fine tuning the teeth that the chief complaint that was for that patient. And so, like you said, yes, this case can now be 3 years in, and it's not finishing the way you want it to finish. So I think that's one huge thing that people need to understand is Invisalign is huge systems dependent product production.
Exactly.
If you aren't going to do the systems and you're not a dentist that does well in the systems world, Invisalign is not for you.
Yeah. Mhm.
You really do need to dial in that. But I did have a question on this. Oh, yes. So in your experience, because this is something that I kind of quickly learned and was curious about, can you plan cases in aligner therapy in one go? Or is it like by design that you're always going to need refinements? Because obviously just the biomechanics of it all, it changes, and there's unforeseen things as teeth move. They're moving slower than you expected, faster than you expected, etc.
Exactly. So I definitely plan, even when I worked with ULab, which was kind of pre-designed to plan in sets and let's like give them 10 stages, take a look at it, rescan, and then plan the next set so that you're more efficient. And I was thinking, hells no, I'm not doing that. That's a lot of planning. That doesn't make any sense to me. That's the complete opposite of what I do. So Canada, we did it a little differently. They were like, Kelley, why are you ordering 60 aligners? And I'm like, because that's what this plan takes. And my plans work. I know what I'm doing. So why would I make more work for myself and my doctor? So, but I will say, if you don't know what you're doing and you need to touch base and you have chair time, unlimited chair time, then go ahead. What I would say is I plan from beginning to end. Obviously, I've dedicated a lot of time to education, so I feel like I'm set up for success. I've done everything right. And I would not blame patients for my refinements ever. I would say 3% of my refinements are because patients aren't wearing them, even the teenagers and all that stuff. It's rarely a co-op problem. It's usually a planning problem and a friction problem. So I would take ownership of that myself. But I do plan to the end. But and when I teach when I teach orthodontists who again aren't maybe super proficient or they're struggling with aligners and they have a lot of refinements or they're struggling, or new GPs, I will let them know when I'm explaining how I've set up their case. And in refinement, which should be approximately 20 stages, you will be continuing to work on your proclination of your anterior teeth because torque is a difficult movement. And we will continue to be working on your deep bite intrusion because that's a difficult movement. So I have slowed down the velocity. I have given it time to express, but I know pretty much, give or take, different nationalities and things like that, how much it will express. And so I show them in the movie, like I know the movie shows that you're going to have like an edge to edge bite here. No, you don't need to watch them so closely at the end. That's never going to happen. You can close your eyes and never see them at all. And you'll get about 30%, right? You're going to get a couple millimeters at best. That's a win. Things are going well because of course, that's what happens to me. Doctors call and they're like, it's not working. We're on stage 12 and the movie shows 50% improvement. And I'm like, whoa, slow your roll, guys. Like, clearly, it's working. If you can see any more of the lower teeth, we're winning here. But that's why I kind of tell them like, hey, in refinement, this big canine rotation or this big root tip, it's going to lag. I've overcorrected. I know it looks crazy and they want to back it up. They want the movie to look perfect. And I'm like, if you deliver this fantasy, beautiful movie, you're going to fall short. And then we're going to have, more attachments and more drama. So I think once I educate the doctors on this is a planned refinement versus, hey, that didn't work. Why didn't it work? Let's try to figure it out and do more. They really understand it. But it's very similar to brackets and wires. I mean, it's not similar, but it's similar in the sense of we do our first 3 or 4 wires and we do a pan and repo. So that is your first refinement. We always know we're going to have to do a pan and repo and be like, okay, where are we? How are things looking? Let's take a lay of the land, and then adjust. And then we're hoping after those next couple wires, you're done. And so that's the same thing as with Invisalign. You're always going to have that first big chapter. Yes, I've planned it to success, but the movie's not reality. Roots moving through bone are harder than the crowns moving through air. And some movements are harder than others. Of course, the attachments and all the external forces and things, those are nuances that you have to learn. But you're definitely, and we tell the patients like, hey, don't plan a party for week, like stage 40. You're not done. There's a chapter 2. We're just like, I like to say like the chapter book approach where, we're building the atmosphere, we're introducing the characters and whatever. And I've given you like a teaser what the ending looks like, but it's not the end. There might be a twist. What we don't want is we don't want it to turn into like choose your own adventure where you're like, woo, thought I was class 2, but it turns out I didn't take this up and I'm class 3, and woo, like it's chaos. We want to have some control over it, and of course we want the patient to have confidence in us that it's going the right way. So I let my patients know, like, woo, I know this ClinCheck looks crazy. You have super flared teeth, and I've opened it up, and they're thinking, I don't want that. And I'm like, I know, but I've done this long enough that I know I have to ask for this to get this.
Yep,
And I have
yep.
to ask for open to get partially open. And they believe me, right? Why wouldn't they believe me? I'm believable.
It's all in how you present it, really. With anything.
Yeah, exactly. And so now what I will say is it is, obviously I wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't profitable and a lighter workflow. I mean, it's a win for everyone involved, not just the doctor who's profiting and the patient who has a clearer experience and less drama. Where the magic happens is when you get that confidence that you don't need to bring them in every 8 weeks, every 12 weeks, every 16 weeks, that you can start taking them from the air and putting them taking them from the chair and putting them in the air with virtual monitoring. So whether that's virtual care or dental monitoring or orthodontists, I mean, we just know kind of what we're doing because we're experienced and we've done it long enough that a lot of the times we don't actually even feel like we need to monitor you. We just send you away. If you have no IPR, I know my cases are going to express fine. And I'm not talking about like canine impactions where I have to do detailed work every 10 weeks or so. I'm talking about run of the mill type of things that aren't growing class 2s with elastics. So I can trust my plans and I don't need to babysit you and watch the grass grow. And because I've saved my chair time, that's time for starts or debonds. And that's how you're going to keep the momentum. And a great doctor to follow, if you don't believe me that it's profitable, would be someone like Dr. Sheik. She has a small, well, I wouldn't say small, but like, let's say she has a 4-operatory practice. And over the last handful of years using Invisalign, Light Force, and dental monitoring, she has tripled the growth of her practice without any more staff, without any more chairs, without a second location, but using the digital tools to the maximum. And she's also like a rock star singer. She has a full life with many children. So it's not like she's a nerd like me where that's all she does. And so, well, of course you're growing. You never leave the house. She has a full, robust lifestyle, and she's also fun to listen to. So I mean, she always posts things for dental monitoring. I mean, obviously, she's a spokesmodel. She's a model for dental monitoring. But that's just one example of how profitable it can be. You do need to dedicate yourself to a little bit of education, or again, you could delegate the planning. If the planning is where you're getting stuck up, then you need to delegate to someone like me or someone at a higher tier who can take most of that heavy lifting off your plate.
Sure.
I would say just be careful about who you delegate to, because everyone's a digital assistant these days. I must get 100 requests in my LinkedIn mailbox. Am I hiring for more digital assistants? And what you don't want is another layer of crap. Okay, so doctors struggling, and maybe there's someone who's like icing the cake and putting on the right that you like, and the IPR is staged where you like it, but the treatment plan itself is not solid. It's not biomechanically possible. And so really now you're paying someone, maybe it's half of what I charge or whatever. It's very affordable and you feel like you're getting help, but you're still on refinement number 3, refinement number 4. That doesn't make sense. So again, either train up someone you know or delegate properly so that you're actually getting good work done.
I mean, training, right? Yeah. Provide the proper, we talk about that all the time. I think I try to slide that into every conversation that we have. These poor guys, but like this training, right? Provide people with the tools that they need to do well. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that's a big thing. Like the system is all about kind of buying into the whole ecosystem of it. Like it's not something you can kind of just do halfway. Like you really have to go all the way with it to see the rewards of it. And like you said, it's something that when done right reduces chair time per patient drastically, and can be quite a bit more profitable and stuff like that. So, but on the flip side, if you don't lend the time to it and the planning, especially that sort of stuff, it's something that can quickly look worse than braces, and you're like, get rid of it. I'm just going to do bread and butter braces. But it is something you need the education of people like Kelley and Clearly Aligned to get these systems in place. Next question is, if a clinic owner is listening to this and starting to think more like a CEO, where should they begin looking first to identify revenue leakages or inefficiencies in their aligner programs that they may already have in their offices?
Mhm. I think I love systems and being accountable and doing 1% better every day. Those are the things that are like that's in my DNA. Like every single day, no matter what task I'm doing, whether it's my personal life or whatever, I always try to do 1% better and take stock of what I have. If you haven't taken stock and you don't know your numbers, how can you be accountable to it and how can you do better? You're just kind of like running every day thinking I'm so busy, and because we're so busy, I must be productive and my staff must like me and we're all doing well, and none of those things can be true. And so again, if you can't do it yourself, some people have these skills and they can take stock themselves and do very, very well and figure it out. I am definitely not that person when it comes to numbers that are not dental numbers. If it has to do with refinements or Invisaligns or debond dates and things like that, those are things I understand and my body will absorb it. But if it's anything outside of that, like even my own household budgeting, I need experts to help me. So what I would say is use resources that are available to you. I know CIBC in Canada has, for any healthcare providers, especially dentists, pharmacists, all that type of stuff, they do free valuations of your practice. And to do a valuation and to let you know how much you're worth, whether you're going to buy or sell or grow or open another practice, they make you do the work and they ask you for the resources that they need to put them onto paper. So that's a great step one, just to be like the lay of the land and where you're at. So take their free advice, take their free services and the amazing software that they have at their disposal and use that and hold on to that. And then you need to take it one step further. You need to have someone who's in our industry, I think, who understands the nuances of it. So someone like Charlie, someone who knows what all these terms mean and how much things are worth. And are all these staff really necessary? Not to fire any staff, but there's such opportunities to repurpose staff now in this digital landscape. So no one's getting fired, but we could reposition you to work smarter and harder and oftentimes in much better roles. So I'm super excited about the staff in this kind of digital era of dentistry and orthodontics. So again, if you had someone like Charlie to be like, okay, I know practices and I know that this number is way too high for you and this number is way too low. And let's try to tweak this to meet in the middle. And these are little action steps that you can do to get there. And again, that might be where Charlie, I don't really know exactly how far your business takes that nuance approach of all the dollars and cents and how to put it into practice. But even if there's a certain, like that's reached its threshold and you can help them tighten the books or give them creative solutions on how to do better and be better. And then there's also other people, like we know everyone, right? So we have like Lori from Strategist and I Gauge, and like there's so many expert consultants who are data driven, who know our area, who then can really in practice start mentoring you to be on the right path. And these seem like, apart from CIBC, which is free, all of these things that we're mentioning, they have price tags to them. I have a price tag. Charlie has a price tag. Lori from Strategic or Gauge Consultants have a price tag. But I would challenge you to find any single person who has used any one of us, let alone the combination, to say, yeah, that wasn't worth it. I would never do that again. The opposite has been true for me. And I do refer people all the time to people I love, people who make a difference for my doctors. And the same thing with me. They're like, oh, I wish I would have met you 5 years ago. I wouldn't have been doing this homework. And I have different pools of doctors. I have doctors who, orthodontists even, who teach grad school. They know how to set up cases. They're not struggling necessarily with the biomechanics of it or anything like that. It's just the actual time suck away from what they really should be doing. And they're, whether it's free time or growing a new practice or something like that, or teaching. A lot of them love speaking. But they're like, my time is so much more valuable, technically, than your time, Kelly. Your time, like let's say my time is worth $1,200 an hour. Theirs is sometimes worth $6,000 or $8,000 an hour if they're famous speakers who have places to be and things to do. And so by delegating and paying me per case, they are taking their time back, and it's really rewarding. And once they get on that flow and they realize, like, I don't even have to talk to these doctors. Some doctors, I have absolutely, there is no text, there is no back and forth, there is no change this, change that. They literally are looking and approving. And if there's anything that I think, oh, they're going to think I was drinking wine while I did this case, if there's anything out of the ordinary, I probably am drinking wine, but anyway, I have a high tolerance. But usually what I'll do is I will make a little Loom video of something that they can listen to instead of read, because I'm very wordy, and just be like, hey, there's a reason I did this IPR. I know there's no bolt-in discrepancy, but I had to get in there and this is the reason. And they don't message me back being thumbs up. They're just like, good to go, approve. And so sometimes at the end of years, I'll be like, hey, are we good? Like, whatever. And they're like, yeah, why? Like, what's going on? I'm like, yeah, I run their full roster, like from starts to refinements. I just go all the way through it. And so I would say the same thing for consultants or expert accountants who are in your field. All of these different areas where you're like, hey, I'm not an expert here. I'm doing my best, but am I spinning my wheels? Or does it make sense to somehow leverage the money I have coming in or patients? Again, if there's some doctors, even orthodontists, who are like, oh, I don't want to lose another $250 a case to Kelley. So sure, tack it on. That's one extra month that they're paying. They didn't know that it already wasn't $250 more. And therefore I've cost you nothing. And yet you have a case that will really express really, really well, and you've got your time back. And I would say the same thing for you, Charlie. I mean, you definitely could probably help me. You're like, Kelley, does your family household spend a third of Starbucks cold drinks delivered to your door? That would be called.
I got to figure out my household first on that. So
it's because mom travels a lot and she gives her 15-year-old teenager her credit card so that, everyone gets, no one loses weight while I'm away. And we just see the doorbell video thing is like, more food being delivered to the door constantly in and out. So I think we can all do better, but we don't know what we don't watch. And so I'm guilty in personal areas of my life. But when it comes to ortho, I've kind of got that locked in, and I truly believe it because I see the results on the doctor's side of it.
Yeah. I wanted to.
Oh, sorry, Charlie, go.
No, Kyle, I see you unmuted. Do you want to ask a question?
I was just going to say, I think you really hit something, the nail on the head, as far as running a business and delegating and understanding the value of a specific task and how to delegate that to someone who that's in their pay band, so to speak. And, you're essentially buying back your own time. And, if you can buy back an hour of your time at $1,200 an hour, to then go out and make $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 an hour doing something that you are uniquely qualified to do, that's money well spent.
Worth it.
Exactly. Yeah. And even in clinic, I see this a lot. Both orthodontists, but also in GP land, where doctors are afraid to let go. I mean, they're still bonding their own attachments and doing that's just the ortho part of it. But there are other areas. TC for sure. The doctors feel like they need to be the one to explain the clinical treatment. Sir, and women, boss bitch women, who are my favorites, I would say step back, like empower your team. Your job is to go in there and do the diagnosis. This is the direction we need to go. And this is the treatment plan. You could have a Carrier, you could have like whatever, sequential digitalization, or you could have like these are the options available to you. I'm going to let TC Jessica explain those to you in detail, and we're going to develop a path that best suits you. And take it away, Jessica. And so you still have that relationship. You've still said enough clinical as the doctor that they respect you and they trust you. And then peace out, because I got things to do. And I hope in an ortho practice, it's just more diagnosis, treatment planning, and IPR, or maybe some nuanced wires that are in your skill set that a hygienist can't do. But really, that should be it. And in a GP office, I mean, you should be doing if you're still doing restorative, you should be doing your implants and crowns and veneers and heavy lifting. You should not be flitting about talking about nonsense that team members, we are empowered to do it. So, I mean, give us a training. So we do know what we're talking about and we have authority with it. But patients like us, and they also respect and trust us. So it doesn't need to be the doctor show all the time. And let us prop you up. I usually let my doctors know before they come chairside. I'm just like, I've said this. I said this. And on the tray cover, I tell them exactly what I need them to say. No more, no less. Bye.
Yep,
because,
there you go.
Chair time.
I think that's
Chair
really
time,
important.
exactly. Yes.
It is. For dentists, and this is a big thing with delegation, and Jessica, I'll let you kind of probably confirm this, but as a doctor, when you meet with the patient and you're chatting with the patient, when you say, and Jessica's gonna tell you through that is you handing over your respect as the doctor that you typically just
Yes.
get because you have the doctor. That's a really powerful thing in delegation, is when you hand that to somebody, you're telling that patient that this is the person you can trust because I told you so. And so that's something that, like, in delegation across like all facets of your office, is something to hand over, to say, and the assistant is going to explain post treatment to you. That's you handing that responsibility and respect to them, that this person knows what they're talking about and they're going to do it instead of me. So I think that is something that dentists and orthodontists can really utilize in that delegation and letting go. You are actually handing over your respect when you do that. So
Exactly.
lending it.
And you're creating little leaders within your office. So again, we often, dental offices and orthos, we just think them, local clinical office like it was 25 years ago, 50 years ago. That's not it anymore. I mean, they are businesses. You need to as the owner, and maybe you're not the leader. I mean, maybe you realize, hey, I'm not a great leader. I just know my skills. And so therefore you have hired and delegated the leadership role to someone who can lead and manage the team culture and all the personalities that are there better. But when you pass that torch and you empower them, it really is a nod to their skills and their management of that team. And you're creating little leaders in your TCs, in your head hygienists or assistants, or even your tech, to be like, hey, I'd like you to step up and start taking all these scans and all these little 3D videos that are now a really important part of our workflow that were never there before. And I see a skill in you. Patients like you. You're very personable. You're not just the tech, and their eyes light up. And now they have a pathway for growth. And once you do that a handful of times, it almost becomes self-fulfilling, that they're like, they see it for themselves, like, oh, I've been acknowledged, I've been asked to step up, and then they really step up into that role. And that's what you want. You want a team of leaders. You're always going to have I call them bread and butter employees, who just toe the line. They're checking in, checking out, but pleasantly, and they're very accountable to their small tasks. Don't change too much. Don't make them change too much, or they get all fiery. Those Karens, Karens and Jessicas. I'm going to call them Jessicas. Everyone's like, Jessica?
Jessica, apparently Jessica is very Karen. So I'm not sure how I feel about that, but yes, that's
yeah. When my bosses start giving me the gears about something, I'd be like, yes, Jessica, and they'll be like, I better tone it down a little bit. But yeah, so I think we need to reframe our offices, whether you have like a 2-chair office or a 20-chair office, to really think, this is a big responsibility. They're looking to me as a leader. This is a culture. And ask your team at the next full team meeting, like, is anyone kind of getting a little like, oh, I'm bored of my job and I'm looking at working at Costco? Any of you here? There's probably 50% of hands go up, and be like, okay, let's sit down and figure out what part of being in clinic do you like the best? And let's pivot you. Let's reposition, and like, let's shuffle. Why are we all doing the things the same way that we did 5 years ago, 10 years ago? That doesn't make any sense with all the digital tools and AI that we have now. We need to take some of our front desk stuff and some of the different team member roles that we're paying good money for, and we need to reposition them. Everything needs a good shake up, like a snow globe, and be like, okay, we have a lot of good people. No one's escaping the globe here, but let's shake it up and figure out where we're all best suited and what digital tools that we can use to our advantage. And then hopefully we all get more money out of it too. I mean, I think all boats should rise.
Absolutely.
And that also gives you another incentive for the team to be like, I'm not just doing this for, like boss bitch or Mr. So-and-so. I'm doing it for the team. And I'll say, back in the day, even when I was making good money as a hygienist, if I knew my assistants were incentivized, that if we hit a target, that they would get more money. They're making a lot less money than me. They have young children. They have the same lifestyles kind of that I have. And they're struggling to buy like 2 bananas at lunch for their 2 children. And I'm like, can you just buy 2 bananas? I've never even thought of buying 2 bananas. I just buy the whole cluster. And they're like, that's all they can afford. And that's when I was like, wait a second, forget the goal for you, Kelley. Do it for them. Do, instead of 1% better every day, try to do 10%, because it's going to trickle down to my team members and it really makes a difference to them. So I think if we all kind of think of the big picture, and I'll think of everyone's lifestyle and how it affects, I think we all work together to, if you don't do it for yourself and you're like the bread and butter employee, I think you rise up and say yes a little bit more often for someone else.
I love that. That's so infrequently do people think that way, especially in dental. So it's so refreshing to hear that from you. I'm sure Charlie and Kyle would agree. It's just like that is how more people need to think. 100%. Yeah, I love that.
Thank you.
Jessica, did you have any questions?
You know what?
I know I've kind of asked a lot of questions.
No, I mean, Kelley, it's just like, it's great having you on. I will say, as a former clinical hygienist, the one regret that I have is not trying out different specialty practices. You know, I love the general practices that I worked in, but I do regret, you take some online modules and you take some, attend some CE courses on ortho and perio and, whatever. But the one regret I have is not having actually put myself in these specialty practices to really learn more, by doing. So it's really cool to hear you as a former, as a hygienist as well, I should say, not just former, but a hygienist, talk about your experiences in ortho. So I just found it really
Thank
cool. I
you.
listen to that all day.
Thank you. Yeah, I would say and like my journey just took me where it took me. Again, just relationship building and in the community. I never aspired to leave clinic. In fact, I could be very happy working in clinic right now as long as I made the same money. I work after hours anyways. I always find a way, but I do love clinic. I really just wanted to be, the best employee, or team member, if you will, to wherever I was working, whatever it was. I wanted to be the best in that space. The community. I wanted always to be the best dental office in the community or the best orthodontist in the community. I just like to level up. I will say, I think back in, maybe it's an old fashioned thing, but back in the day, you didn't hop around jobs. You were there. I was lucky to have a solid job. I was making a good income. I was surrounded by good people. So why would you ever try something else? Why would you leave that? And I have changed jobs very infrequently. And when I do change, I'm tormented by, I'm tormented by letting them down or leaving, because I feel like that's my business and that's my family. So it does take a lot for me to leave. And now, I mean, it's kind of the opposite right now in the current, these young, 20 to 30-year-olds, they're hopping every week. I mean, you can't pin them down. They'll leave you for $2 down that day. I mean, they're all temps. And I will say, you know what, credit to you business wise, because money wise, they're doing the right thing. It's not the right thing for all of our businesses. That's really hard for us to manage our patients when everyone's hopping around. But I will say, when I speak to my children about being in jobs, I'm like, stay there long enough to get all the skills you need and suck out of it what you need. And when it's no longer serving you and you're not advancing, you're not learning, you're not getting a title change or an increase in money, it's time for you to go, if there is somewhere for you to go. And a lot of us do have that opportunity. We're just scared to make it. You feel like, I'm locked in. Oh, I'm just a dental assistant, or I'm a hygienist. And yeah, I could work over here for $2, but maybe I should just stay still. I think that's a mistake I made early on. I would wait, honestly, I would wait 6 or 8 years for a $1 raise. What in the heck was I thinking?
Really?
Like now, it's like, I'm making like $100,000 decisions. I'm like, sure, 100,000 for you. Well, I don't really want to travel 5% more. So maybe I won't take that. We're talking like bigger money. And again, how did I land in this position? At home, on my screen, learning a lot. I mean, I did dedicate a lot of hours to it. So, that's why I say, like, not everyone can be like a master technician overnight, but there are other things you can do that are a quicker change, virtual champions. There's other things that you can aspire to be. But I would encourage you to not be afraid of change as much as, again, it seems like I've changed a lot, but even in my own current circumstances, there's things you can do and you think, "Ooh, should I go on my own, or should I take that big job opportunity here or there?" And so I wouldn't change just for the dopamine. I love dopamine, but change just for that. But again, for me, I'm motivated by education. And when I stop learning and, whether respect is no longer served, or I'm stagnant, that's when I'm done. I can't be stagnant. I need to continuously learn something to keep going. And I really do feel like my career is just starting. I wish I was younger. I wish I was younger because I'm going to run out of lifetime before I get bored of this.
I think that's a good place to be.
Yeah,
So
that would be great.
you're just going to skip the whole midlife crisis because you're just
I think
too busy going too far.
I'm going through that right now. I just don't have any of the fun things that other midlife crisis people do because I'm so busy doing plans. When you see some odd attachments happening on your screens and I'm doing some weird biomechanics, that'll be my crisis happening.
Kyle, did you have a question?
I do actually. Listening to kind of your insight on leadership and bringing your team along, I'm curious when you're looking at independent clinics and how they're always trying to operate more successfully, increase profitability or whatnot. What are some things that you've seen in your experience in your time in clinics, working with clinics as a consultant, um, where things are just kind of breaking down in ways that are probably quietly impacting that profitability, not obvious at first blush?
Yeah, I think across the board, would say the majority of practices, team members, hygienists, assistants, receptionists, we get so caught in our zone, and that's not my problem. That's not my role. So we're trying to talk the talk and patient experience. We don't want anyone complaining about us because that would be like a red flag and would be, obviously fingers would be pointed. But it's when you're not challenging yourself to do, again, hygiene, traditional hygiene. 4 units of scaling is 4 units of scaling. I can't do it any faster or legally I'm doing something wrong. But in ortho or other areas, whether it's new patient exams, or there's many different areas of practice where you can tighten your belts. And the problem is that team members are not taking it upon themselves to think, how can I do this differently? How can I do this creatively, and shrink the amount of chair time or patient experience? Like, why does my patient need to sit in a chair for an hour and a half for a new patient exam? Girl, I got a scan that takes 2 minutes. I've got her x-rays. I could chart almost the world off those 2 pieces of data and save the patient chair time. Now, I still need a little time to find out what they're about and to present some education of things that I see. Absolutely. So I would use that time more wisely instead of having an assistant there and I'm talking and she's writing and all these types of things. Like, we need to start leveraging AI and thinking, okay, I know I've done this for 25 years this way. And like Karen and Susan and Matilda, and no one wants to do it differently because that's how they've always done it. And like, don't talk to them because they're in the midst of menopause and they're going to have a freak if you try to make them do it differently. Everyone's afraid of everyone leaving. But I would ask you to be like, you know what? The standard of care is different now. We need to do better because we know better. And we have the tools that make our lives so much easier. So instead of being afraid of and being like, I don't have time to scan and I don't have time to do this facial video, you should ask yourself, what are the consequences if I don't do this scan or if I don't do this facial 3D scan? Well, if Matilda, who is like brain fog because she's in the midst of menopause, I only say this because I am, but anyways, is driving home. So again, I'm identifying with you ladies out there listening, and named Matilda. If you're driving home and you're in a car accident and you lose half your face, Matilda, and like Matilda, the hygienist, you should have taken the scan and the 3D picture, because that oral surgeon is going to need to rebuild her face. And it would be so amazing if she had that 3D image with the bone structure, with the facial structure and all the teeth, because in real time, they can order from the lab those exact same teeth that were damaged. And she looks like herself a lot quicker than just recreating like a cake from scratch. And so that comes down to a hygienist saying, I didn't have time to take that 2-minute scan. I only had time for bite wings. Well, bite wings are not rebuilding her face, is like what I tell them. And I put it really bluntly, but that's the honest truth. Like, how bad would you feel as a provider if you were like, no, I couldn't use the latest and greatest tools, even though, a child, an 8-year-old child could take that scan. It's not highly skilled work. They just need to know, like, it's time to do things differently. And again, these scanners now are charting recession depths for you, probing depths coming soon. They're capturing, decay and margins. And so it's not an ortho thing. Like scanners are not an ortho thing. It's ortho, restorative, perio, reconstruction. It's
Yeah.
Botox now in real time. As the jaws are aligning in an AP direction, it's showing you the soft profile so patients can see, oh, my nose gets bigger if we do that. No, thank you. Let's go the other direction, or what are my other options? Or if you are clinically doing Botox because your practice is allowed to do that, they're seeing those changes in real time with the technology that we have. And again, this technology is already at our fingertips. And in a lot of practices, it's sitting in the corner. I was in a practice not long ago. The doctor has done her due diligence, ordered, has purchased and owned for over years 3 iTero scanners. So she's got the Porsches. She doesn't have the cheap scanners. She's got the Porsches, and they were in the corner. They weren't even plugged in. And there's a fleet of hygienists and assistants there. And I was thinking, what is happening here? And even the day that I'm in, like, I'm the ortho girl. Like, is anyone going to use these?
Plug them in.
Yeah, exactly. And so basically, and I'm not this person. I really don't like to put people on the spot. Even when I was an Align speaker, I really didn't like to scan live or be the one scanned. Like, no one liked role playing and that stuff. But I did have them at the end of the day pick up the scanner just to try it. Because of course, the first time you're gagging people and you don't know where you are, it's like trying to put on eyelashes in the mirror. It's difficult, but you laugh at yourself and you realize I'm only going to get faster and better at this. And once they understand that, hey, so right now we are using it for ortho and we are talking to educational pieces and whatnot. But when they see what the scanner, the capabilities, it's already built in there. They just haven't released it to us yet. When they see the horizon and that, you're going to be the hygienist who is still probing like a pioneer, calling it out and changing red pen, blue pen, instead of the hygienist who, hey, I did my scan. Yeah, my probing's done. It automatically dropped into my charting and it's all there. And it also captured all of my fillings, the missing teeth.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, if you're not
the
scanning.
Hygienist scream, especially for a new patient.
Exactly. So, yeah, I think it's really the team members not taking accountability and being open to what's out there for them.
And I think that ties in with your previous answer as well about, taking the time to learn new things. Like there's so many opportunities now that don't require in-person physical attendance for CE that,
Exactly.
I mean, I tell my daughter, like, you can learn just about anything you want on YouTube. Just make sure you're learning the right things. So
it's an exciting time. I mean, obviously I love education. Education is my thing. I'm happy to learn honestly on any subject. Anything I don't know about, my ears perk up unless it's math related. As soon as you say something math or physics, despite the fact that I'm a biomechanics expert, I'm just like, no, thank you. But so I love traditional education. And so, my kids obviously are, in university. My son was pre-law. He's deciding to take a break. And was I freaking out that he's just told us like last month that, oh, Mom, I think I'm going to take some gaps, like to travel and get some experience. I wasn't freaking out. He was worried because I do love education, but I was like, no, I mean, it's your life. You have to be passionate about what you do. And you might go out and get some internships and learn more about yourself and about what you love than if you went to 3 years of law school and realized, you know what, there isn't even an area of law that I'm even interested in. Just like a lawyer is just one of those jobs that people want, and you should make good money. But if you have any concerns about it, sure, take your time. And then that trickles down to Lola, my 16-year-old. And I'm kind of like, by the time she's university ready, to your point, there's almost anything you could do. It's almost like we're reverting back to the age where, I mean, I'm older than you guys, but where our parents were CEOs of companies and were killing it with no real structured education. They just got in there, they learned it, relationship skills and stuff like that. And so it's almost because there's so much access to education and access to experts in the space, it's a creative way of getting education and using your personality and relationships to get into the roles that you want and building your way up. So, I mean, that seems a little risky to me. I'm not going to lie. But I think we are heading in that direction. And my daughter, who works in an ortho practice right now, obviously I was gearing her, if you're not going to be a dentist or an orthodontist, gearing her towards hygiene. That's the next highest paid role. That makes sense. And she was in And I was like, I can't believe I'm going to do this. And hopefully I'm not sabotaging your life, but I think I should pull you because you never plan to work in a traditional hygiene role. You just want to work in ortho. And Ontario changed their rules where assistants can do more. And so if you're the best assistant, like if you're really gamed up and I teach you as much as you can legally do, and you learn my digital role, you can make much more than a hygienist and you don't need to take that hygiene school. So it was never about the schooling itself or the education, but it doesn't make sense that the hygiene was a stepping stone to her being her best self in ortho. And so, yeah, she's technically just a level 3 assistant. But her goal is to take over the decaying hygienist. I should do that podcast. Oh my God, I'm going to get kicked out. The decaying hygienist. And that doesn't threaten me at all as a hygienist. I think as a hygienist, if I was, like whatever, 50, whatever, and I would step back and I would have an elite group of highly trained assistants, 5 of them, all in these chairs. And of course, I'd have to place the active wires and I'd have to use my high speed to take off the composite. So they would just have a flagging system, but I would try to teach them as much as possible and just be the leader in that space. And my doctors then have saved probably at least $15 an hour per chair. And that's if those assistants are paid close to 40, which they should be because they're taking over a hygiene role and the hygienists are paid 60 plus. So I think, hey, yeah, save some money, but pass some of it along so that these assistants are inspired to do that role. I think that's a great model that we're just starting to see transition. The GPs are taking advantage of this for sure. GPs are all over it, at least here in Ontario, using assistants to their best ability. But the ortho's very traditional, they're afraid to leave us alone. They get us babysitter orthodontists to watch us. And I'm like, dude, there's no IPR today. There's nothing for you to do. We don't need a babysitter, a $1,000 babysitter. But they're still replacing hygiene roles with hygiene roles. So I would challenge them to ask within your team, who the assistants are on your team who are able to do that role. There's going to be assistants who you're like, not you, Rose. I'm like, not you. I shouldn't say names. But not you. You keep making the Essexes. I'm not going to be invited back to clinic. But that's the honest truth. There's opportunities for everyone. There's opportunities.
Absolutely.
For
sure.
Just to be respectful of everybody's time here, I do have one more question, a bit of a hard-hitting question. What is one piece of advice you hear often that you either flat out disagree with or think differently about?
Ooh. Well, I mean, coming from specialty, of course, many, many years, we had our referring dentists. My role on Friday was to go out and woo the GPs and their teams so that we were their favorite orthodontists and they would refer to us. I loved that job. It was like a gift giver, like Frappuccino Fridays or Fudgicle Fridays, whatever they were into. I was all about it. Like it was like being Santa every Friday. I loved it. But the goal was for the GPs to not do ortho because leave it to the experts. I will say that has shifted. Patients do want to stay with their primary dental caregiver because they already have a relationship. Now, do I think they should be doing everything? Clearly, no. I think they need to stick to their lane. But is their lane just relapse and little bits of IPR and la 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 la? I don't think so. They are highly skilled doctors who are doing very difficult things in their day-to-day practice. And so their lane is wider than we in the specialty realize. Now, there are people doing crazy cowboy things. Yeah, we see it. We see the mistakes. So
yes,
those are the people we are saying, hey, you slow your roll here or take some education because that's dangerous to the population, right? We all just want excellence, first of all. And we don't want to, it makes it difficult when we have to correct GP mistakes because we can't tell on you because that's our professional code is to all cover each other and, still end up with a good patient experience and, protect each other a little bit, which I'm all for. And hopefully you don't do that again. That's the whole goal is that if I rescue you here, you've learned from that mistake and you don't repeat it. But I will say GPs and pedodontists really should consider a more active ortho role, at least in identifying the cases. Because if you're educated in ortho, we get in ortho, we get, maybe 10 to 20% of the cases that should be sent to us. The other 80 aren't even identified. the average dental hygienist, assistant, and GP aren't even finding the cases that we want to treat. So there's a huge gap in care there. There's exorbitant amounts of population that need ortho that they haven't even been told they need ortho. And the biggest piece of the puzzle that I feel is it's not a great is the growing smiles. So, and kids who are even under 6, but definitely from 6 and above, who are not being screened, not being referred to ortho, or being treated in house. It's just so easy to make a bigger parking lot to prevent the next 10 years of impacted canines and crowding and extractions. None of that needs to happen. We can all make our orthodontic cases simpler by just addressing them early. And I'm not saying jump on every 4, 5, and 6-year-old unless they have airway problems. Full respect to the airway doctors. But there's a big part of the population that we can intercede just in time. That's easy work. Do it responsibly, get some education, but make a bigger parking lot. And then if you don't know how to treat teens or treat the AP and do the cephs and all that type of thing, or complex adults, 100% orthos. That's what we're here for. We're happy to take that. And then I think it's a really winning collaboration between the two specialties where there'll be better respect and we'll work together more instead of this. It's not like a growth. It's the opposite of a growth mindset where it's kind of like there's not enough pie for all of us, and you're doing ortho and you shouldn't be, and that's highly skilled work. And it is highly skilled work, but again, I have seen the opposite spectrum where GPs who are doing excellent work. And there's GPs that I learned tricks and tips from, both in fixed and aligners, that I'm like, oh yeah, that's interesting. That's a good way to do it. And it holds true. And I'm the first one, no matter who I'm working with, GP or ortho, if something isn't going to work, I'm going to tell you. And it's not because I'm, I just want it to work. I want you to look good. I want the patient experience to be good. And I want the team experience to be good. So when I'm designing a plan, those are the things I have in mind. First of all, the patient. That patient I feel like is my patient. And so I will not deliver it too early. I will not deliver it if it's not necessary. And I will not extend it or let it go on beyond like reasonable times. I really want to treat it efficiently because my name's on it. But I also am thinking about the team members that are delivering it. I don't keep off attachments because it's a difficult access point. I just think, Kelley, is that overkill? How is that hygienist or assistant going to manage putting that on? Is it necessary or can I do without it? Like, I'm thinking of the delivery for both the patient and the person delivering it. And then also the doctor's name at the end of it. How is that going to be? Is it going to add to their practice and grow their ortho space? Or are they going to be like, oh, I'm never going to do Invisalign again? Like, that was chaotic. And with my GPs, I will say, if there's a difficult case, that they say, hey, Kelley, can you set this up for me? Yeah, I mean, I can set up anything. To be quite honest, I can set up anything. But what I need to ask that particular GP is, should you be setting it up? Or should you be referring that? Because you are going to lose sleep. You've done, maybe you've only done 50 cases, 100 cases, 200 cases. And this is very, very difficult work. I can tell you how to do it like paint by number, but it's not worth your while. Do 10 other easier cases and give this to the expert. So I think that's where we all need to work together. And I'm super excited. Like, I don't know if it's next year or in the next 3 years, but I'm super excited that maybe we start to close the bridge between orthodontists and GPs so that we work together. And it's almost like a, hey, let's go grab a whiskey or a golf game, Dr. So-and-so, and let's discuss some of these cases and sit down with these scans and decide, this is yours, this is mine, this is yours, this is mine, but we're both still winning. Wouldn't that be amazing? Or if I wasn't, sorry, go ahead.
I think that's a great world to live in. And I never really kind of thought of it like that. Because I think in some ways I definitely came from the specialty world where I was maybe a little bit more
We're like, those guys, what are they doing?
Yeah, exactly. That was, So, but you do actually make a really good kind of point there that I think everybody can win. I don't think, there's not enough cases being identified. I can't remember, but the doctor I worked for, there's something like 93% of the world's population could use orthodontics.
Exactly.
Like it's not a small pie at all.
And only 1% are being treated. Yeah. So Like, it's crazy. Now, of course, not all of those patients can afford treatment or have access to care and whatever, but it doesn't matter. There's lots out there. So like, there's lots for all of us. I think we just need to figure out whose is whose. And honestly, if I was an orthodontist and I had a practice, as careful as I am about systems and chair time and being accountable. So I don't want to grow my office. I don't want 2 practices. Oop, I think we're just unstable for a sec.
Oh, I think we've lost Kelley.
No.
Oh no, Kelley.
Oh, we're back.
We're back. Okay, perfect. We didn't lose you.
Say, if I was an orthodontist in this current vibe, this current digital technology land, instead of being afraid of what the GPs are doing down the street, I honestly would go and visit my favorite. Like, I got to like their personality and their vibe so it matches with mine. And I would say, because my chair time's full up, right? I'm at capacity and I'm always looking ways to keep people virtual and digital so that I can grow within my practice. But I would say, hey, do you want to form a partnership? I'm going to provide you with my ortho level diagnosis, treatment planning. I'm going to co-plan with you. Clearly, I'm getting a little bit of the profits here. We'll figure out the split. But you deliver it because they want you. I know they want you. So you go ahead and you use your team and your chair time and your resources, and you use your chair time to deliver more patients for me. And yeah, I'm going to give you some money and I'm going to keep some money for myself. Now, I have just leveraged up as an orthodontist. High quality work, because again, I'm overseeing it. I'm not doing all of it. We're splitting it, right? So sometimes they'll need to ask me, hey, I'm chairside and it's this canine impaction that's coming in, which vector should I pull at? What should I do? So there's going to be a little bit more back and forth, but hey, that's what I'm getting paid for. And I could grow my ortho practice 10 times by leveraging really, really clever GPs. And that's currently what I would do because now I've been on both sides, and I was nervous being on the GP side I've only been on the GP side for 3 years. I mean, I still set up for orthos on the side. That's my side business after my day job.
Right.
But my day job is helping 500 GPs growing every year. And what I've seen is that they are capable. They do need guidance. They are open to guidance. And a lot of them would be very receptive to that kind of arrangement. Why wouldn't they be? Why wouldn't they be?
Right.
And then it doesn't cut me out because I could be in the mix planning it too.
Exactly. Everybody wins.
I will never learn how to golf or cook. Let's be clear on that. I have one skill set, just one.
Awesome. Is there any other questions that everybody has?
No, this has been really comprehensive. Thank you very much, Kelley.
Yes, thank you so much. It was great to have you on, and I think we all learned a ton. So this was just awesome.
Thank you. Super fun. Yep, I could talk all day. The first all-day podcast for those long commuters.
Yeah, it's been great to dive back into the ortho world and all the stuff in there. It was,
I'm super excited. I mean, I think you're in a really great position. You guys with your consulting and your accounting and knowing the number side of it, because as much as I'm telling you where I see inconsistencies, you guys have the data to back it up and be like, we have all of these different practices, and this is where they think they're growing, but they're actually losing. So whether it's on team or resources or chair time. So I think the more data we have, data doesn't lie. And so I think it's really exciting, to keep the conversation going and to see okay, these are patterns. It's all about patterns. Once we see these patterns evolving, then let's create a system to nip that in the bud, and let's get some education, just-in-time education to help everyone. And then we can all stop spinning our wheels and work smarter, not harder.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Oh, perfect. Well, thank you so much, Kelley.
Thank you.
We'll probably have you on again because it seems like we have a lot of things that we could dive into further.
Yes.
But thanks
Professional
again.
talker.
Exactly.
Educator, professional educator.
Exactly. Sometimes.
Also a great conversationalist. There you go. Yeah.
Thank you. So great to spend time with you guys. That was a nice break to my ClinCheck day.
Thanks, Kelley.
Awesome.
Thanks so much, Kelley.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Dental C-Suite. For show notes or to ask a question to the board, visit www.thedentalcsuite.com.